Hey everybody, and welcome back to 2022 again. We're gonna keep going until we get it right, okay? Listen, we both know why we're here, okay? So let's just get this shit over with. Whatever. First up, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow 2. This is a belated sequel to a movie from 1980. It's a fun little TV movie slasher. This movie sucks ass. It was made with no budget. It looks like garbage. And I'd rather kill myself than watch it again. At a nice number 69, Disney's Pinocchio, Robert Zemeckis. What the fuck, man? I thought we had something. Number 68 is some random movie on Tubi called He's Watching. Poster looks cool, and I guess that it did what it was supposed to, because I clicked on it and I watched it, unfortunately. Terror Train 2. This is a sequel to Terror Train, which is a remake that also came out this year of a movie from 1980 called Terror Train. And I guess they just put so little money into it that they just shot the remake and a sequel at the same time. Jurassic World Dominion. I already talked about this one in a video. Just really disappointing and boring. Waste of a cool premise. Yeah. Fuck. Spirited. This is Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, both at their worst. Morbius. This one at least is kind of funny. Blonde. This one gets a little half point extra because it is just so batshit insane that I can't help but kind of respect it. Black Adam. I think I watched this like 3 weeks ago and I don't remember a single thing that happened. Minions: The Rise of Gru. I didn't want to watch this one, but I did. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Just making a reference isn't funny. Terror Train, the remake I mentioned earlier, it sucks, but at least it's more fun than Terror Train 2. Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore. I already talked about this one as well. Yeah, who gives a shit about these movies anymore, to be honest? Firestarter. This is another remake of a Stephen King movie from the 80s. The only reason that this one isn't a 2 out of 10 is because it has a John Carpenter score, and that automatically gives it a little bit more clout. Amsterdam. I talked about this one as well. At least this one is like somewhat competently made. Christian Bale is fun. This one is like so disappointing. The Gray Man. I honestly had to look this one up again because I didn't remember that I even watched it. Like, I thought it was a mistake. Thor: Love and Thunder. Just a total fucking misfire. Taika Waititi is getting lazy. Smile. This one was successful. I'm surprised that people really seem to love this one because it just was so derivative and sort of lazy to me. Like, it just feels like someone saw It Follows and was like, we could do that again. Lightyear. What the fuck was this movie? Who asked for this? Moonfall. This one is like, you can tell it's kind of going for a so bad it's good angle, and it almost gets there, but it's just a little bit too stupid and a little bit too self-serious to really make it. Terrifier 2. I liked it more than I liked the first Terrifier, but I think that it's just not for me. It's just, I like horror movies, but this is a little too extremely gratuitous for my liking. Bullet Train. It was fine. It was fun, I guess. You can tell that the cast is having fun, but I wasn't really. Don't Worry, Darling. This one is almost funny enough, just knowing the background of it, that it gets bumped up to a 5, but it's so bad. The Invitation. This one's like at least competently made. It's kind of fun. Gothic vampire, which we don't really get too often, but nothing happens, and also they gave away all the twists in the trailer, and I do mean all of them. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It was fine. I mean, it was exactly what it says on the tin. Strange Worlds. What a waste of some really cool ideas. Disney is just so tied down by the whole generational trauma thing that it's like they literally just put it in all of their animated movies at this point, and it's like, Jesus Christ. Have some different conflict for once, please. A Christmas Story Christmas. nostalgia hogging on A Christmas Story, but I can't really bring myself to hate this movie. It's a little bit, it just does enough minute little things to make me not able to hate it. Where the Crawdads Sing. This one is sadly forgettable because I think it has some really cool ideas, and I like the concept of it, but in execution it was just so bland. Enola Holmes 2. I don't know why I watched this, but I don't know why I watched the first one either. Maybe it was obligation, I don't know. It was fine. See How They Run. Another mystery movie. I barely even remember this one, to be honest. Saoirse Ronan was in it. 3,000 Years of Longing. I'm just kind of sad that such a great filmmaker wasted such a great cast. My Best Friend's Exorcism. This is based on a book that I haven't read, but I sure hope the book is better than this, because this is an absolute waste of a really fun premise. And there's moments where I'm like, okay, this is cool, and then it just totally fumbles. Trick or Treat, Scooby-Doo. This one was trending on Twitter, and so I watched it, and honestly, it was just sort of fine. I feel like we will never again reach the heights of the 90s animated Scooby-Doo movies. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I know a lot of people really loved this one. I thought it was just okay. Like, it felt, I appreciate that it was like a critique of Gen X that wasn't like just phone bad, but it was just sort of, I don't know. It just felt a little bit like been there, done that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I honestly will probably be one of this film's bigger proponents. I think this movie's a lot of fun. It's very stupid. It's not a good movie, but it's fun. I have a lot of fun watching it. Werewolf by Night. This is an interesting little experiment by Marvel, and I appreciated it. I didn't love it, but it did enough that I appreciated it for trying to do something more interesting. The Sea Beast. This is a animated film that I didn't hear anything about. I just sort of saw it and I was like, that's interesting. It was fine. It was better than most of the things that Disney put out this year. Prey. This is another one that I feel like people were going really crazy for, and I thought it was fine. I mean, to be fair, the Predator franchise has a really, really low bar. This one being just okay was enough for people to kind of go nuts. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This one, I stick by what I said when I talked about it in the video. I think that it's fun. It has some issues for sure, but I appreciated the Raimi-isms. I know that a lot of people really dislike this movie, but I feel like the people who are saying that it's like the worst Marvel movie or even like the worst movie of the year or something like that is like, chill the fuck out. Fresh, another one that I feel like people really went crazy for, and I liked this movie, but I just feel like I wish it would have done more. I wish it would have done more. Turning Red, it was fine. I don't know. It was fun. Incantation. This is Taiwanese, I think, found footage horror movie. I saw people going crazy on horror Twitter and whatever because it was really scary apparently, and it was spooky, but it wasn't like, I don't know. There was spookier things this year in my opinion, and I'm just really sick of found footage, I think. Avatar: The Way of Water. I have not rewatched the first Avatar in many, many years, but I feel very similarly about this one to how I remember feeling about the original. It's very pretty, visually very impressive, and there's some really cool world building, but overall I just feel like it doesn't mean much when it's in service of such a bland and sort of been there, done that type of story. Gwendolyn Wild. This is the finally awaited directorial return of Henry Selick, who did Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline, and this movie is just there's too much. I really wish that they'd done another few drafts of the script because there's just this movie is too overstuffed with shit, and it ends up feeling just confused. The Black Phone, I already talked about this one at length. Ethan Hawke is a lot of fun. I enjoy the setting. It wasn't very scary though, and it just ends up, I don't feel like I got that much out of it. Barbarian, I know a lot of people, again, really, really love this movie, are gonna put it as one of the top movies of the year. I stick by what I said about it before, where I think that it is just it's a bit of a one-trick pony. You watch it once and you're like, wow, that was fun, but on rewatching it, I just was not getting much out of it. Crimes of the Future. This is a remake by David Cronenberg of his own movie from back in the 70s. And it was a little disappointing. I feel like it could have been a lot better with the cast and the concepts, but all that being said, I did still enjoy it. It is very sort of squeamish, and it had some interesting concepts. Halloween Ends. Again, I'm taking up my mantle of being one of this film's biggest defenders. I honestly really like this movie. I've still not gotten the chance to rewatch it, which is why it's at a 6.5. It could easily go up to a 7 or down to a 6. But I still appreciate this movie took some big creative swings and did something different and interesting. Men. I already talked about this one as well. I appreciate what this movie's trying to do, but I also understand the complaints about it being, kind of trite. But I can't deny that this movie was pretty fucking scary, and it's so well made that I can't help but kind of like it, even if it could have been a lot better. X. This movie, I like it, but my biggest issue with it is that it's so obviously heavily inspired by stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it never feels like it can really escape that influence. I'm constantly watching this and going like, yep, that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hatching. This is a foreign horror film, and it's well made. Really strong child performances, which is always impressive. All Quiet on the Western Front. This is a well-made, anti-war movie. Watching it, I just couldn't help but feel like I've again, sort of been there, done that with anti-war movies. Like, this is well made, the performances are great, but I just couldn't help but feel like we've done this before, Pearl. I officially decided that I liked Pearl more than X just because Mia Goth is so good in this movie. Everything else is just sort of mad, but she is so great in this movie, and I really love her in this role, and I'm really excited to see what she does in the next installment. Glass Onion. I haven't rewatched Knives Out. Actually, I think I've only seen it the once. I don't think I like this as much as Knives Out. It's definitely a little bit more outlandish and out there, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, even if I'm not a huge fan of this sort of central gimmick of like halfway through the movie we suddenly flash back and basically watch the movie up to that point again before moving on to the conclusion. Scream 2022. I think that this movie is just really well made, and honestly, I had more fun with this than nearly any other Scream sequel. That being said, the plot was very kind of trite, and so I'm hoping that Scream 6 really branches out with the new setting and sort of not being tied down to the legacy characters anymore. I'm really hoping that they do something cool and new with Scream 6. Hellraiser, the Hellraiser remake. I've talked about this movie before. I think that it's really well made, it's really interesting, and it's got some really cool stuff. I don't know if they're gonna make a sequel to this. David Bruckner does not seem like a big sequel type of person. But that being said, I would really love to see what he would do next with this world that they've set up. The Menu, really well made, well acted. The metaphors were, well, I like the metaphors. I think they're interesting and they resonate with me. I couldn't help but feel sometimes they were a little bit confused in their execution. Elvis, I talked about this one before. This movie is so fucking insane and wild, and Austin Butler is so good that I can't help but enjoy it, even if it's definitely a mess. It is a messy movie. Top Gun Maverick, talks about this one as well. It's just well-made fun. It's just, I haven't rewatched it because I just feel like there's nothing I would gain on a rewatch, especially not in a theater. The top 10. We are finally at the top 10 movies of 2022. Number 10, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This is just such a heartful and well-made movie, especially, comparing it to Disney's Pinocchio from earlier in the year. It's just so soulful. It's cartoonish without feeling like, kiddie. It still has this sort of mystique to it that I really, really like. At number 9, I have The Batman. I had my doubts about this movie on a rewatch. I thought maybe it wouldn't hold up as well, but honestly, I watched it again a couple weeks ago and I was surprised that this movie really does hold up, even knowing the twists and the mystery, I still really enjoyed it, and it's just so well made. At number 8, we have The Whale. I know this movie is getting people going crazy over this movie from Brendan Fraser, and while I don't think it was quite as good as some people are making it out to be, I still really enjoyed it. It's very endearing and sort of heartfelt. Sometimes it does border on a little bit too much. Sometimes it gets a little bit too sort of misery pornish for its own good. But it's always sort of anchored down by Brendan Fraser just having this very tender and real emotion behind his performance. I also loved Sadie Sink. I think that she's not getting enough attention. At number 7, we have Mad God. I know this movie is technically listed as a 2021 movie, but it only got its wide streaming release this year, so I'm counting it as this year. And this movie is just so insane. And it's absolutely not for everybody. Like, I can absolutely see why your average viewer would not like this movie, but there's something about being able to see someone's uncompromised vision put to life that was, made over the course of like 30 years or however long it took him to make this. It's just sort of mesmerizing, even when it drags in the middle, which it does drag a lot in the middle in my opinion. It is still so endearing. And at number 6, we have The Northman. This is the new movie by Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and the Lighthouse. I really loved how sort of brutal and dark and dirty this movie was. It just felt so... Robert Eggers has a very big thing for, historical accuracy, and you can feel it, just like, you can feel that this guy, did his research and did his best to make this feel like real. This is a real world. And finally, we're in the top 5. At number 5, we have Nope. This is probably Jordan Peele's most interesting movie to me. I think Get Out is a better movie, but this one just thematically is so much more rich and interesting to discuss, in my opinion. I really love the whole idea of like the hunger for spectacle and the sort of audience expectation and all that. The performances are also fantastic. I really love the music for the most part. My only issue still is that the sort of genre shift, tone shift in the last act is a little bit off-throwing, but still, I really, really like this movie, and it might be my favorite Peele movie. Number 4, we have The Banshees of Inisherin. This is a movie I only saw recently, but honestly, it's so darkly and tragically comedic, and the performances are so great that I just couldn't help but appreciate it. I love movies that just feel so hyper-specific, and you can tell that even though it's not a true story, this is something that this person has experienced. And that's what this movie feels like. This feels so real. It's so small scale, but it's still so endearing. Number 3, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've already talked about this movie as well. I know a lot of people are probably going to be saying this is their favorite. It's just off being my favorite. The differences between these top 3 movies are very marginal. But with this one, I think there's just a couple too many jokes that don't land for me, a couple too many moments that are a little bit like, and it's a little bit too long. Just a little bit too long. I think it could have shaved down its length, and because it does drag, especially in the beginning a little bit, in my opinion. At number 2, we have RRR, or Triple R, or Rise, Roar, Revolt, whatever the fuck it's called. This movie's fucking awesome. Alright, this movie goes so far over the top that it goes around from being like ironically funny to back up to being like unironically just fucking awesome. It is like the crystallization of all the reasons why you would ever like a Bollywood movie. It's on Netflix. Highly recommend you to watch it. Even don't be off-put by the fact that it's a foreign film. It is so entertaining and fun, and I did not feel the 3-hour length whatsoever. I watched this movie like 3 times this year, and every time it just went by like that. It is so fun. And here we go. Number 1, my favorite film of 2022 is Bones and All. I loved this movie. I just loved all the choices that this movie made. I love the way it looks. I love the way it captures that sort of like dead American town, like nighttime. I love the performances. Timothée Chalamet was great. Taylor Russell was fantastic in the lead role. She was so good. Just everything about this movie. The only minute problem I have with it is that I think the first half was better than the second. It manages to really balance those genres. It is creepy like a horror movie, but it's still endearing and romantic like that sort of drama, romance movie. It is just so well made and endearing, and ugh. Well, that's about it for me. I just want to give a thanks to everybody who watched and supported anything I made in 2022. It was a bit of a rough year, but making these videos is a very personal endeavor and something I do for my own enjoyment, and it really makes me happy that people enjoy them. So thank you for that. Really hoping 2023 will be a big one. So, for the last time this year, as per usual, I'm Teddy. All my plants are dying, and I'll see you next year. Re